15,000 feet above the emerald jungle of North Vietnam, an American F-4 Phantom pilot sees it. A surface-to-air missile streaking upward, closing at twice the speed of sound. Below, enemy territory. Above, a sky painted with tracer fire and smoke trails. And in his cockpit, a split-second decision that means the difference between life and death. This moment, suspended at 600 miles per hour, would be repeated thousands of times in the most intense, controversial, and technologically revolutionary air war the world had ever seen. Today, we're diving into the skies over Vietnam, where American pilots face an enemy unlike any they'd encountered before, where the rules of engagement tied their hands behind their backs, and where the line between heroism and tragedy was thinner than the contrails streaking across the jungle sky. This is the story of the air war over Vietnam, story that changed warfare forever. The year is 1964. While America dances to the Beatles and watches the World's Fair in New York, a shadow war is escalating 8,000 miles away in Southeast Asia. North Vietnam, backed by the Soviet Union and China, is pushing to reunify the country under communist rule. South Vietnam, with American support, is resisting. But this isn't just a ground war fought in rice paddies and jungle clearings. This is about to become a battle for skies. Operation Rolling Thunder begins on March 2nd, 1965. The mission? Use American air power to break North Vietnam's will to fight. For 3 years and 8 months, the United States would drop more bombs on this small nation than were dropped in all of World War II. But here's what makes this different. North Vietnam wasn't defenseless. They had Soviet-supplied MiG-17s, MiG-19s, and the deadly MiG-21, one of the most feared fighter jets of the Cold War era. They had surface-to-air missiles that could reach altitudes of 60,000 feet. And they had something even more powerful, a tactical doctrine that would exploit every weakness in American strategy. The stage was set. The players were in position. And what happened next would rewrite the rulebook of aerial combat. Let's talk about the machines of war. The Americans flew into battle in the F-4 Phantom II, a beast of an aircraft, 2 engines generating 17,000 pounds of thrust each. Top speed, Mach 2.2, armed with radar-guided missiles and heat seekers. On paper, it was invincible, but the Phantom had a fatal flaw: no gun. American designers believed the age of dogfighting was over. Missiles would do all the work. Fire from beyond visual range. Never get close enough to see the enemy. Clean, simple, technological. They were wrong. The North Vietnamese flew the MiG-21 fishbed, smaller, lighter, more maneuverable. Maximum speed, Mach 2.0. But here's the thing. It could turn on a dime. And it had a 23 millimeters cannon. The North Vietnamese developed a tactic called hit and run. MiGs would hide at low altitude, below American radar, then zoom up, take a shot, and disappear back into the jungle cover before the Phantoms could react. They used ground controllers to guide them to perfect attack positions. They fought over their own territory, where every crashed American pilot became a prisoner of war. And they were disciplined, ruthlessly disciplined. American pilots called the most dangerous area MiG Alley, the airspace between Hanoi and the Chinese border. Flying there meant running a gauntlet of surface-to-air missiles, anti-aircraft fire, and enemy fighters all at once. Lieutenant Commander James Stockdale described it like this: "It was like flying into hell with a blindfold on and your hands tied behind your back." But this isn't just a story about machines. It's about the men who flew them. Robin Olds, a World War II ace turned Vietnam warrior, commander of the 8th Tactical Fighter Wing. He designed Operation Bolo in January 1967, a brilliant deception where American F-4 phantoms mimicked the flight patterns of vulnerable F-105 bombers. When the MiGs scrambled to attack what they thought was easy prey, Olds and his pilots were waiting. In 12 minutes, they shot down 7 MiG-21s without losing a single American aircraft. It was the largest single air battle victory of the war. Olds became a legend, but for every story of victory, there were stories of loss. Lieutenant Colonel Charles de Bellevue became the highest-scoring American ace of the war with 6 confirmed kills. But he watched friends disappear, swallowed by the jungle after being shot down, never to return home. The rules of engagement made everything harder. American pilots couldn't attack enemy airfields, couldn't pursue MiGs across the Chinese border, couldn't bomb Hanoi's port until 1972. They had to visually identify enemy aircraft before firing, giving up their technological advantage and forcing them into close-range dogfights where the nimble MiGs excelled. Pilots joked bitterly, "We're fighting with one hand tied behind our back." By 1968, American losses were mounting. Over 900 aircraft shot down, hundreds of pilots killed or captured. The air war was becoming a stalemate, and the American public was starting to ask, why are we here? December 18th, 1972. Peace talks in Paris have collapsed. President Nixon is furious. He orders the most intensive bombing campaign of the entire war, Operation Linebacker 2, known to history as the Christmas bombing. For 11 days, American B-52 Stratofortresses pound Hanoi and Haiphong around the clock, wave after wave. These are the same bombers that carried nuclear weapons during the Cold War, now dropping conventional bombs with devastating precision. But the North Vietnamese are ready. On the first night, they launch over 200 surface-to-air missiles. The sky lights up like daylight. 3 B-52s are shot down in a single evening. American air crews are terrified. These massive bombers, designed to fly above the battlefield, are now flying into a wall of fire. Captain John Mize, a B-52 pilot, remembers, "You see the missiles coming up at you like telephone poles with fire shooting out the back, and you couldn't do anything but hold your course and pray." But the Americans adapt. Wild Weasel aircraft, F-105 specially equipped to destroy radar sites, fly ahead of the bombers, clearing paths through the missile fields. Fighter escorts engage MiGs before they can reach the heavyweights. Electronic warfare aircraft jam North Vietnamese radar. It's a symphony of destruction. Terrible, magnificent, unprecedented. By December 29th, North Vietnam's air defense network is shattered. Their missile stockpiles are depleted. Hanoi's fuel depots, supply lines, and military infrastructure lie in ruins. The North Vietnamese return to the negotiating table. On January 27, 1973, the Paris Peace Accords are signed. The air war over Vietnam ends. This air war over Vietnam was unlike anything before it. It wasn't a clear victory. It wasn't a decisive defeat. It was complicated. American pilots flew over 1 million combat sorties. They shot down 196 enemy aircraft. They lost 2,251 aircraft to all causes: enemy fire, accidents, mechanical failure. 2,583 American aircrew members were killed or went missing. 772 became prisoners of war. But the lessons learned in those dangerous skies changed everything. After Vietnam, the U.S. Air Force and Navy established aggressor squadrons, pilots who flew like the enemy to train the next generation. They created the Top Gun and Red Flag programs, the most advanced air combat training in the world. They put guns back on fighter jets. They revolutionized electronic warfare, precision bombing, and tactical coordination. The technology tested over Vietnam became the foundation for air superiority that would dominate in the Gulf War, Kosovo, and beyond. But perhaps the most important legacy is this. Vietnam taught America that air power alone cannot win wars. That technology without strategy is just expensive equipment. That courage and sacrifice on both sides deserve to be remembered and understood. The pilots who flew through those tracer-lit skies over Hanoi were ordinary men in extraordinary circumstances. They were fathers, brothers, sons. Some came home to parades. Some came home to protests. Some never came home at all. Their story is American history. Complicated, controversial, heroic, tragic, and it's a story we should never forget. What do you think? Was the air war over Vietnam a strategic success or a cautionary tale about the limits of military power? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into history, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We got more incredible stories coming your way. Until next time, remember, history isn't just about the past. It's about understanding who we are today.